Here we go. Welcome, everybody. So while we wait for Taras, I will introduce the museum. The Ukrainian Museum of Canada was founded in 1936 by the Ukrainian Women's Association of Canada. And we are here in Saskatoon, the headquarters to a network of museums across the country. We have branches in Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. And we are an all-new team here at the museum. I joined the museum last May, and everyone else here has joined since then. And it's very fitting, I think, that we have been working with Taras Polataiko so early on in this new cycle of the museum, because we are in a wonderful, interesting, challenging position to be rethinking and reimagining what a heritage museum might be in 2023, what a Ukrainian heritage might be in a time of Russia's latest assault on Ukrainian people and Ukrainian culture. And it's a time of, I guess, great concern and great opportunity. We were established here, as I said, in Saskatoon in 1936, where a great deal of the Ukrainian organizations across Canada were founded here in Saskatoon, including the USRL, the Ukrainian Self-Reliance League, and UWAC itself, the Ukrainian Women's Association of Canada. We're the oldest Ukrainian museum in North America, and we're situated in Treaty 6 territory, which is the traditional territories of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Lakota, Nakota, Dakota, and the homeland of the Métis. And so as we grapple with what a heritage museum might be during these challenging times, we're also challenged to think about the role that Ukrainian settlers played in the colonization of this land we now call Canada. And so all of these things are happening here at the museum in these days. And in the middle of all this, of course, the war is on everyone's mind. So we have been challenged as a museum as well by many requests for us to fundraise for the defense efforts in Ukraine. And this is, oh, hi, Marina. We have people in the waiting room. We will let them in, Lindsay. We are facing our own financial challenges here at the museum, and of course wanted to help in the fundraising efforts. And I feel very fortunate that we were able to both do something for the museum and send money to Ukrainian civilians fighting on the front lines through Taras's project, Someone Prays for You. So while we wait for Taras to join, I will introduce Taras and his incredible efforts through Someone Prays for You. Taras Polataiko is an artist from Chernivtsi in southwestern Ukraine, and he studied art in Moscow and then came to Saskatoon in the late 90s to do his MFA. So he has some history here in Saskatoon. After his MFA, he taught in various places across Canada. And then following the Maidan Revolution in 2014, he returned to his hometown to be part of Ukrainian defense efforts there. So when Russia's full-scale assault began in February 2022, he launched Someone Prays for You, initially just using his own collaborative artworks with elder artists, including his parents from Chernivtsi. It soon expanded into a fundraising project that had artists from all around the world, some Ukrainian Canadian, including Denise Hawrysio, who I think is on this call with us, and artists who had no direct ties to Ukraine, but felt called to put their efforts toward fundraising efforts. And so you can find Someone Prays for You easily. I know Lindsay, when she's back on, will post a link in our chat. But it's a beautiful website. Artists from around the world have donated artworks. And proceeds from the purchases of those artworks go to the purchase of medical supplies and protective gear for civilians fighting on the front lines. I will say as well that Taras has raised extraordinary sums of money very efficiently and effectively over Facebook. For more than a year now, he has been putting out calls for people to send money directly to him in Ukraine, and he has been posting photographs of all of the supplies that he has been purchasing and figuring out how to get into Ukraine and into the hands of civilian defenders. And if you don't follow him on Facebook, I encourage you to. I have wired him money myself several times, and it is, having been involved, I will say, in various committees across North America of from the arts community trying to raise funds, I know of no more effective mechanism for getting the supplies that Ukrainians need right now than Taras's efforts through Facebook and through Someone Prays for You, because there is really no red tape. There's no waffling over and agonizing over communication strategies and logos and anything like that. And the transfer is as direct as possible from your own bank accounts into the purchases of supplies and the distribution to people in Ukraine. So it's a wonderful, brilliant effort. And although that doesn't involve art per se itself, those wire transfers through Facebook or through your bank accounts, I think that it is because of Taras's extensive international network that comes through being an artist, and not just any artist, but an artist who engages in social and political and cultural issues very deeply and gets to know people and causes trouble sometimes and makes a lot of friends and acquaintances along the way. This has been the key to his success as a fundraiser for Ukraine. It's because of his work as an artist that he has this network, because those of us who are here who have extensive involvement in the art world, we know that our friends and acquaintances list grow very long. So I'll tell you about Someone Prays for You a little bit more. What Taras has done in these photographs, which you can see on the website, if you all go and Google Someone Prays for You, I think it's .com. He's worked with seniors in his community in Chernivtsi, including his father, who is a brilliant wood carver and icon writer, and his mother, who has retired. Sorry, maybe Denise should unmute herself and tell everyone a little bit about her involvement with Someone Prays for You while I do this. Can Denise unmute herself?
Start my video. Okay, just a minute.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Hi, hello. Hello, Jen, are you there?
Hi, I am.
Okay, maybe you could ask me a couple questions and I could explain.
So
my moment.
We also purchased a set of your works from Someone Prays for You, and those were collages you did. I guess some of them directly inspired by the current war. Not all?
Most of them. Most of them.
Maybe tell us a little bit about that while I dig up a password.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Denise Hawrysio, and I'm Ukrainian Canadian. My grandparents were Ukrainian, and I was quite affected by the invasion. Having been to Ukraine in 2004 to visit my relatives there, and I have been keeping in touch with my relatives there for many years. I get quite emotional talking about this subject.
That's okay. It happens to all of us.
No, that sounds tough about that.
So because it is a horrible thing that's happened in the Ukraine, I wanted to do something to help as well. I wanted to make some work, and it took me quite a few months to figure out what I would do. And I didn't want like a knee-jerk reaction per se. So it took me, I think, the invasion started in January, and then think about May, June, I started to come up with this idea of doing some collages with some of the images I saw that were printed in magazines like Time magazine and Newsweek and things like that. And I wanted to, I was actually in a studio in Canada at the time, and I had access to all these old National Geographic magazines. And I started to look at these old National Geographic magazines, and anyways, the idea came to me that I would start doing some collages with them. And so I did these set of collages that kind of juxtapose the horror that's going on there with the images of kind of everyday reality that we experience here. I'm in Canada right now. So I and so it attempts to, like I said, just this kind of some points very abrupt juxtaposition of let's say this color TV. One particular piece is called River and TV, and it has a picture of a kind of glamorous TV that these National Geographic magazines were promoting. So almost all the images come from National Geographic. It's a kind of promotion of luxury goods like TVs, fridges, etc. So that was started the idea to kind of juxtapose this consumer culture of glamorous goods with this destruction that was going on in the war. Do you want me to continue, or is Taras here?
Taras should be joining us right away. I think we fixed the problem. I always have loved the Martha Rossler's Bringing the War Home, House Beautiful series of collages. I don't know if you are familiar with those.
Actually, she was a big influence on me when I was a young student. Yeah, a young girl.
Yeah.
But one of those things, you see it so long ago that I probably obviously has internalized it.
Yeah.
But I hadn't looked at it recently, although I did try to see it at Tate Britain once. I couldn't actually find the room recently. But that's a very good
powerful. And when I first saw your works, they reminded me of those so much, and equally powerful.
Well, thank you very much. That's a very, very, very important reference to me. I mean, I've always liked very political based artists like, Martha Rossler or Hans Haacke when I was young. It's those early political conceptual artists were quite big influence on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I did, the series also involves some more positive images, like there's an image of an old World War II plane that I actually, the other thing that I had at my disposal here was my partner's father was in World War II, and he had all these books from World War II that he collected. And so I used some of those images as well. And one of them was of like these two hands, like looked like they were kind of praying. It's called Close the Sky. So there was kind of more poetic pieces and then more political pieces, like you said. So I realized that if anyone wanted to buy these, it might, because the object was also to sort of sell them on Taras's site. That was the goal, of course, was to try to sell some work to raise some money. So the little bit I could do. So that's what I made. I tried to make combination of nicer images that people might want to see, more positive, more life enhancing roles of Ukrainian, like there's one called the Ukrainian Dancer, and it's Ukrainian dancers, which also I got from an old National Geographic magazine. And it's in this, that's from another old World War II magazine of people celebrating the end of the war in Trafalgar Square. So again, juxtaposing this image of a Ukrainian, kind of an Ukrainian celebratory image of the Ukrainian dancer, and then in this image of from Trafalgar Square, like I said.
So for
Um,
anyone here who's not Ukrainian or Ukrainian Canadian, or isn't kind of steeped in this history, there's a long history of Ukrainian artists and cultural workers being persecuted by Russia, and of course Ukrainian culture being suppressed, to put it mildly, by Russia. And so this involvement of artists in the war, I think, is comes from a very kind of ancient, old anyway, place of Ukrainian resistance. Yeah, Taras, by the way, is just restarting his computer, and he's going to be joining us shortly.
oh,
Yeah.
brilliant. Well, and adding to that, for whatever reasons, ever since I was a young girl, I was interested in my Ukrainian history. I kind of partly grew up with my Ukrainian mother and grandmother, sorry. And of course, she always talked about the old country. So, I was interested in it from a very young age. And my aunt, my great aunt, lived in Winnipeg. And I was lucky to go to Winnipeg for an exhibition at one point. And I did some research on her. And she was the first secretary of the Ukrainian Labor Temple in Winnipeg.
Yes, it's so interesting.
Mhm.
And now I have an announcement to make. We all have to hang up and rejoin this call.
Okay.
That is how this is going to work, apparently. I apologize sincerely, but look, we can get on, we can hit record again, and we can pretend like this never happened. And
Okay.
so our inconvenience is nothing compared to the inconveniences that Taras experiences on a daily basis as a result of this war. So it's okay. No big deal. But we'll hang up now. Thank you, Denise, and we'll come back. Okay,
Okay,
see
well,
you all in 1 minute.
Okay, great. Ciao.
Perfect. Welcome, Taras. Welcome.
Great.
We're so happy to have you here. Everyone is applauding you. They're muted.
I'm glad it's working.
So we had a wonderful conversation. I introduced the museum. I introduced Someone Prays for You. I talked about your fundraising efforts over Facebook. And then Denise Hawrysio filled some time talking about her work that's on Someone Prays for You.
Oh, great. Hi, Denise.
Yeah. And so now we have you here. So I recounted how you had been teaching in Canada, and then 2014, you returned to Chernivtsi. And so much of your efforts since then as an artist have been dealing with this ongoing war, which of course 2022 was just the full-scale assault, but it had really began in the East in 2014. Why don't you tell us about how this fundraising effort, Someone Prays for You, ramped up from a solo effort on your part to raise funds personally to something much larger? You have a team now.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jen, for organizing the show, first of all, and thanks to Lindsay for finally getting it going, and thanks to everybody who I can see people online. I feel awkward. I have no idea. It could be my phone confusing my computer. I don't know. But anyway, back to the show. Ooh, it's kind of scary to think it's been almost, it's gonna be like 2 years, more than a year and a half. The war caught us in Vienna. Like me and my Violetta, my girlfriend, we just went for a week to to see the museums in Vienna, and and uh, and that was probably, I mean it's a bit of a long story, but this is the only way to explain it, because that moment was, it's strange, but it was like the toughest, the weirdest, the strangest, whatever. Like it's like we had to decide what to do in like 5 minutes, really, because like my brother phones from LA 5 in the morning, and we have a flight like 8:30 or 9 in the morning, and we were really packing our bags like to go home, to fly to Chernivtsi where I live, because I'm looking after my parents, and my brother's calling, and we don't know the news, and he's calling from LA and saying like they're dropping the bombs everywhere. Like, I mean, what do you mean everywhere? Like every, like, I mean all of the cities. And it's like, what? And he already like thought for us, kind of like, he says, well, we need to like stay in Vienna, and we need to get our parents out. And I'm like, oh, whoa, hold on. We give us like, we need like 5 minutes to sit down. And so I put the phone, like hung the phone, whatever. Like we sat down, and Violetta goes like, well, I know like my brothers and my dad are going to volunteer to to war, because they that's what they've done in 2014. And I'm going, well, it's done. Like I need to look after my parents. So we just went to the airport. I mean, and that was like the hardest, because you see, happy people in Vienna, like it's morning, people having like morning coffee, smiling. We don't know if what they know or don't know, but it's, the feeling is awful, because you kind of know, well, you're going to the place you might never get out of, like come back, like da 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 da. Your life is never going to be the same. You're going like under bombs, and everybody's around is smiling. It's kind of really shitty, and you kind of know for sure you're alone. We are alone in it, and so it's been hard flight. I mean, luckily we didn't have like a direct flight to Ukraine, because all the flights were canceled. So our flight was like it was like a cheap, like budget flight to a city in Romania close to Ukrainian border. So once we got there and crossed the Ukrainian border, like, and saw this like huge, like several kilometers long lines of refugees already. And we were like the only people like crossing in. Once we crossed in and got the cab and started, got to our city, and we saw it like intact, and I saw my parents and talked to my parents. I mean, it just got calm. And I mean, we just got calm. It's weird. It's like you cross into the territory where like the bomb can fall on your head at any point, but psychologically it's just got, because you don't have to make that decision anymore. You're not doubting. You're in the same boat with everybody else. And I guess like the fact that like I was like with my parents, and I could help them again, helped too. So that was like the weirdest. There was like many scary, weird moments after, but pretty much after that, Violetta's like brothers and dad, like they went and they had nothing. They just like went in their like civilian like running shoes, whatever, and they needed all that protective, most basic stuff that helmets, whatever, and all that stuff is expensive. So I started buying it, and then I think I made a post that I wanted to talk to the media, and or yeah, just to say what's happening. It's because it's like it's a weird, like complex kind of what you go through at those first days of war, like moments, like it's thereafter your, I mean, very identity. It's kind of Putin is like new Hitler. It's like they want to erase like the whole, I mean, the very idea of Ukraine. And so it's like I want to talk about it. So once they started asking me questions, and like I started talking about what I'm doing, and um, it yeah. And by that time, I don't remember like what was one thing, what was first, what was second, but I started taking oh yeah, like I started running out of money, and I thought like um I should make something I can sell, like some kind of like an edition, like art, and I came up with this. Everybody's like doing something, like elderly people, like crafts, and like my father's an artist, so like my mom is into like crafts, so like they know all these people. So I thought if I asked, like, because the elderly artists to give me like small objects, I can like go around the city, like kind of taking pictures of putting them in different contexts, and make small prints, just standard kind of A4 size, and and then like my daughter Marina, I think maybe she's online now.
Yes.
She and her partner Pat, like they really helped like to get the website going in Toronto, and we posted those online, and for sale, and people started buying them. So I mean, it was amazing. It was like, I mean, it really helped us, like, to help the guys like get the most basic stuff they needed, and and then it continued, like uh, um, uh, Janet Cardiff like wrote to me, the artist, and offered, like, she was making uh watercolors, like the whole series, kind of responding to like reading war newspapers, and kind of making like watercolor collages, and she offered like the whole series to us, and I had to like rethink. I mean, I was like so grateful, and it was so great and so generous of Janet. So that I had to like refrain it was just like me taking those photographs in the beginning, and then I had to open it to other artists to join. So I recontextualized it, and other artists started like offering their works, and now we have like 11, I think, artists.
And
And
Taras, you said you're working with a team of about 30 volunteers on these efforts.
not really, not volunteers. Like it's still like me and Violetta, my girlfriend.
Okay.
It's just like two of us. It's like small operations,
Okay.
and all we it's like 100% goes
Yeah.
to the
The,
front line. I was talking 60 guys. We're like more or less like we're able to help now. It's like
right.
they're like much better equipped now, but they're constantly running out of things. Like the cars are break. I mean, it's war. Things get damaged
Mhm.
all the time, and they need to be replaced. Like car parts, like fixing cars, like right away. They don't always have money. Like the last thing was like. Uh, the guys in like special forces guys, they were like crossing, they go from point to point, and they see like the soldiers sitting in the trenches, like it's like almost 40 Celsius, like it's hot, it's like southern Ukraine, and the supply lines are like damaged, and they have no water delivery. So I mean, they couldn't really help them. They just gave them like whatever water they had. So they needed certain pills like for that, and they needed painkillers, and so it's like stuff. They call us, they tell us, look, we need this now, and we try to get it and deliver like right away, the
Yeah.
shortest like way.
Yeah. And I see everything that you purchase posted on Facebook.
Right. That's the way we report, because that's
Yeah.
kind of like spontaneously it started being this way. It's like the simplest, like shortest way. Like we just get stuff, like I take it into my hands, like I take a picture, and then we ship it. Sometimes like we also ask the guys like to get a photo of them with those things they received, and they also post that. Yeah.
Mhm. And
So
so
that's
do you know how much money you've been able to raise through these efforts, and the total quantity of things you've been able to purchase?
I haven't I
Yeah.
wasn't able to, like, I mean, he just didn't have enough time. I should be able to, like, go into like my bank account at some
Mm.
point and like add it all up.
Yeah,
But
because what I'm struck by is the extraordinary efficiency of your operations compared to other efforts that I see going on that involve so much bureaucracy.
Well, it's just, you know, it was like in those early days, it was just like survival. That's, I mean, yeah. And you you have to do it the most, the efficient way. Like, I mean, if I started telling you like how difficult it was like to get stuff in the early days, because like the supply, the logistics, like to, you know, department stores, it was all like destroyed. Like I mean, this scary one, you know, early days of war, like scary kind of scenes. You'd go to buy like kind of hiking socks, like to the department store, like kind of like Walmart. And it was like nothing there. That was kind of yeah,
And so,
scary. So we had to order from like Poland and, you know, other places, and night vision, and like all of that was like sold out, because like there was like a lot of people like us, you know, and so we had to go like further and further, like west. Like I remember like the first like thermal drone we bought from like southern France, and then we had to like go like further, like as far as like Alaska. We bought a drone from Alaska, you know.
And so you're taking care of your parents while you're there, and you're raising all this money and purchasing all these supplies, and how is this is this helping you to cope with the PTSD that I know every single Ukrainian right now is suffering from in that country?
Well, yeah, I suppose like we, you know, we don't have like a luxury to reflect on like what we have. It's we have probably something, because what you know, once I thought about what it's like we are like, when it all starts, you just gonna you breathe in, and you, I remember like it was like I was like walking like tense like this for like first like month and a half, till the Russians like retreated from Kiev area, because we knew like if Kiev falls, like then there'd be like nothing, you know, it'd be like totally different game. It would be just like insurgency, and like we'd have to like take the guns up like as like everybody as a civilian, and somehow like it would be like totally different war. But so once like the Kiev you know, stood, and they got out of there, it was, we knew that the country will stay, and that was like a bit of like breathing out. It became easier. Like I mean, in that first months, like it was like our stomachs were kind of like all the time. So it's kind of, it's much more relaxing now. But I mean relaxing is not the right word. It's like easier. I mean but I mean, each of us, like you know, I have like 4 family members in the front lines, and like 6 friends, you know, and it's like everybody here has like a certain amount of very close people there, and it just doesn't let you relax, because I mean you're worried about them. And that people are coming every day. Like our city, there's like, you know, 2, 3, 4 every day. It's a small city. It's like 250,000 people, so you can imagine. So yeah, you can't relax. It's like you feel guilty, because you realize you're alive because somebody else is dying, and you know, so it's there's gonna be some kind of like PT whatever disorder. But once we relax, because I mean we you know, we do try to we go for walks. Like I try to get out of town and just kind of walk around nature, just take my mind off the news.
So if we can talk about your photographs that we have on display here at the Ukrainian Museum, and maybe I will, while you were gone, Taras, I was about to walk people into your space, and because I was trying to pass the time, but I think I will take people there right now. These photographs you've taken of of the work of elder artists, mostly craft work, and then your father's sculptures as well. And
Mhm.
they're really poignant pieces, I think. And they talk about a Ukrainian culture that we don't see in earlier artworks of yours, which don't have, I mean, these are very kind of sentimental pieces in a way, until you see them, of course, on top of monuments surrounded by sandbags. What you have a poem also included in this exhibition by a Ukrainian poet, who is talking about her anxiety and her fear about her son going off to war. So can you tell me about the things you were thinking about when you put this show together? When you did,
It was very spontaneous. It was like, it was, I needed to come up something, something small, something saleable, and not entirely, and still kind of with certain, quality to it as art, I guess, but not without going like just commercial, because you need money. So I mean, those were considerations, and it turned into this like collaboration with like crafts people, and I just ended up with like small objects. I just took those objects with me and on my errands going through the city, and I would just like see the location that I saw. Okay, that would be interesting. Maybe somehow very intuitive. Here, and take a shot, and taking lots of shots, lots, and and because it we all here were like in kind of pretty emotionally weird, tense situation. A lot of it seemed to be like loaded with meaning, but like my daughter was like very helpful in Toronto in that sense, because she was going, no, that's not she became like my editor. She's like, no, this is like no, you're like out, okay, this one, okay, this one. So I would just like I would just like select myself, then I send it to them to Toronto, and Marina and Pat like made me reshoot and said, okay, this one is like people will, I think, like this one, but maybe you should like reshoot me. So I mean, it's just kind of like this way, that's how it happened. So
so
they're just kind of like kind of snapshots really of in a way how it felt at that moment, like that it made sense to, given given the parameters, the context, the that they had to be fairly saleable and yet not commercialized like to like kitschy value or whatever, like, and they had to have certain sense that I wanted them to have, I guess. And I mean, maybe, yeah.
the works made by the artists in your photographs, these crafts, seem very small and vulnerable. There's a vulnerability in these photographs, and I'm for me anyway, they speak to this kind of fragility, that fragile state that Ukrainian culture is in some ways, because it's so threatened right now, and they put this folk culture that I think places like the Ukrainian Museum of Canada has arguably been guilty in some ways of over promoting at the expense of sort of talking about Ukraine today. But it's for good reasons that we've done this. It puts it into a new context, and I think actually the works speak about what has been at stake for more than 100 years now, which is the loss of Ukrainian culture altogether.
Yeah, I think there's something about folk culture that it intuitively I kind of reached out to that. Like you just at that point we just did things like there was like no very little room to reflect. But yeah, then later I had some time to reflect, and maybe to make it easier to explain, there was at some point it was maybe first week of war, its first 10 days, like there was like news that the museum of Maria Primachenko was burned down, and that was the first time that I broke into tears. It's like you hold yourself together, but that is just, it was like literally like heartbreaking, that wonderful art. So it probably does have something to do with that. Like, I mean, I love folk art, always have. It just has that like fragile, wonderful, heartful, energy. That's what can you say? There's like, it's very sincere. It's from your heart, and that's. I'm glad you mentioned that. What did you say? Like tender or fragile? Fragile. Yeah. It crossed my mind that like I'm dealing with this like very fragile things, and very fragile people were giving me those things, and yeah, it is about that. Yeah.
So another question related to your long career now, you've often been sort of drawing attention to Russian imperialism and trying to, I guess, highlight Ukrainian culture as distinct from Russian culture in your work. Where this moment must be very strange for you, because it's just as Ukraine is under it's arguably its worst attack. The world has finally understood, it seems to me, that there is a Ukrainian people and a Ukrainian culture. And
Yeah, at a great cost, unfortunately. Yeah, it's how do you like? Yeah, now everybody knows what it was all about for us and for like generations of people, Ukrainians before. I mean, for close to 400 years, 350 years. But it all just came to kind of one of those historical moments that it's like became like very recognizable, this kind of uh, another brutal attempt by like Russian Empire to just like annihilate the whole identity of people. And I mean, I guess like I'm not going to go through history like with like all those like previous like brutal attempts to just like erase like the identity of like millions of people. I mean, it's really, I mean, the way to understand it is like Second World War and like Hitler and his anti-Semitism. Like I think like for some reason this like psychopath like Putin like feels like that like about Ukrainians. So it's it's existential threat, and it's like as a Ukrainian, like you always feel it, and it was very little known. I mean, there was a time like, I mean, you get tired of this question. So like, where are you from? Like Ukraine? Oh, it's somewhere like there, like it's kind of like Russian. It's like, and you just kind of know it's coming, and you kind of no, not again. Well, I guess like at least like now everybody understands like that. Yeah, it's those are like two profoundly, different cultures, and one was just kind of like brutalized by another for years. And so the way how do I feel? I mean, there's like nothing to add. It's just in terms of making art and creating an awareness. It's just came down to survival in terms of helping people who are like fighting for existence, and that's what my art in a way came down to. I mean, I'm making something else, like a little bit like on kind of on the side. Strange to say, but that's, I guess, like I'll maybe like show it later. Right now, it's yeah, it just, that's what it came down to.
You also have another exhibition on in Canada right now in Calgary, which is the works that you took, that you made, I guess, in 2014. Am I correct? Photographs of the soldiers. They were included in the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
the
you
show
wanna
in
tell
Calgary
everybody
has
about the
like,
show?
go on.
Oh, I just said, you want to tell everyone about the show?
Yeah, the show's on till I believe like September 14th at the Founders Museum in Calgary. It was curated by Wayne Bearwalt, and I want to thank to Wayne, who curated it kind of like long distance, because like I couldn't come. I'm like under 60. I can't leave the country. So yeah, I want to invite everybody to visit, because that show has, it kind of, it's strange to think that it's kind of like a retrospective, but that's what it kind of I guess it's not, nobody's talking about it, but there's like the Wayne chose like works from different periods, and kind of there's like some important pieces in it. And yeah, what kind of like connects them is like that they, all the works in the show kind of address like Ukraine in this or that way. So yeah, there's like works from like different times of my life. Like I kind of tend to work in like series, like I get interested in something, kind of like work through it and then move on in you know, formally, like it always changes, like it's, you know, ranges from painting to video to, yeah. So yeah, there's like Wayne made like nice selection, and yeah, it people can see it in Calgary at Founders Museum.
Mhm. And yeah, we talked about hosting something together, the Founders Gallery and the Ukrainian Museum of Canada, but we're doing things separate. I do encourage everyone to go see that show, though, if are in the Calgary area.
I want to thank you, Jen, for, because like it's like you had this idea that you fundraise like to purchase the series, right? And it helped the fundraiser.
Yeah.
And but you made an effort to.
Yeah, well, we have at the museum, we don't have an acquisitions budget. We are you know, pulling the museum out of a difficult situation right now, and it's an exciting time, but it's also, we have to be managing our budget very carefully, and it was people want to help Ukraine so much, and so all of the money that we raised, all the money to purchase your works and Denise's works, and hopefully some more works through our Yamarok, our Christmas market fundraiser. So people just donated for a gift basket. They put their names in for a gift basket raffle, and that we raised enough money to make these purchases. So that was really great. Yeah, and we are, I mean, I think we are getting a lot more attention as a museum as a result of the war right now. We're sort of challenged at the same time because the Ukrainian community is tapped out here. As you know, it's a very supportive community, and so everyone is sending their money to Ukraine and quite rightly. I have no complaints about that, but it makes fundraising for the museum somewhat challenging. But I think that I think we'll be fine. I think we're doing it, but it's just been a really interesting time. So I've been grateful for your work, for allowing us to sort of do something for the museum at the same time that we're doing something for the civilians who are fighting there. And I think, you know, you missed this while you were trying to get on the Zoom call today, but in my orbit anyway, I haven't seen anybody who's done a better job of raising awareness within the Canadian art community, certainly, about what's happening in Ukraine. And you were doing this before you left Canada in different ways, but the work that you've done just through Facebook alone has been so amazing. And I think that you've got a huge following here, and people are looking to you for for leadership and helping us to make sense of what's going on and to keep us feel connected, because it is really hard. I mean, Denise was on earlier, and it's hard for people here from the Ukrainian diaspora community to watch this happening. And, so many of us have family members there, extended family, and it's a helpless feeling.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear, because I mean, it's sometimes I'm thinking that COVID made us all isolated, but our isolation kind of continues here. Well, for me anyway, I can't leave, so I it's first, for COVID was like 2.5 years or 2 years, whatever. Now it's like it's years after years, so it's good to know. It's good to hear the good feedback, because it's kind of, you're kind of like become like an islander or something here in Ukraine. It's nice to, yeah, I think it's probably, except for in the beginning, when the media was really curious and like CBC called and and then it became like, unfortunately, kind of like new normalcy. Like it's like one of the very rare kind of opportunities. Like I'm talking to people outside of Ukraine. Yeah.
Well, actually, you raise a really good point, and that's, I mean, I want to get your thoughts on the role for places like the Ukrainian Museum of Canada right now during the war, because I see it as one of our responsibilities to keep awareness of the war kind of top of mind for people, but we need to have ways of doing that make sense for a museum, and this is why your show is here right now. I mean, they're beautiful works, but it's really about making sure people are not forgetting that this war is still going on, and I'm just wondering if you see the war changing in any way the relationship between the diaspora communities and Ukrainians in Ukraine.
It's very hard for me to say, because I'm not there. I'm in Ukraine. It's kind of, but I can tell you like how it feels. I mean, it's became like a war of attrition, and it's about endurance. It's about just kind of keep going. It's hard. Yeah, people are dying. That's the hardest part, and I guess that's what makes it different from me. I mean, if you're Ukrainian in Ukraine, or like Ukrainian who has relatives here who can die at any moment, you worry about them, and people who don't have relatives in this war. So that's probably like a difference. It's a radical difference, because you really worry about people all the time, and that you have to continue. There's like just no, I mean, like there's like occasionally these ideas of like somehow like appeasing, like, I mean, everybody knows like what happened if, like, when Hitler was appeased, like they just kind of, it's just like a chance. It's giving them a chance to like regroup and push again, and it's like just postponing the problem that will come back in probably in the worst way, because they'll just like kind of get stronger, like, because like their military industrial complex is like rolling now in Russia. So it's kind of, it has to be finished, however tough it is. It's, unfortunately, it's just such as fate. Like yeah. So yeah, it's just, we just have to win this war.
Yeah.
I mean, we just have to push them out of our country. That's all.
Yeah. So I'm wondering at this point if there's anyone online here who'd like to ask Taras a question. If you do, you can just unmute yourself. I think you have that capability, or you could write something in the chat and I can read it out. I don't see anything. So what's next for you? You just keep on doing what you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I want to encourage people to like look into into our little fundraiser, because yeah, it slowed down. Like I understand like that, people have, I mean, it's been going on for a long time, and it can't it can't keep attention, focus, whatever. So, but yeah, think about us for once in a while and have a look into our fundraiser.
Send the
And
money, send the money.
we'll have we have like a wonderful artist joining, Jane Prophet from London. Like probably, I hope like next week, like she produced, like printed like wonderful prints, small, beautiful. So like we'll be posting them soon. Check us out.
We have a number of comments. People have to go now. Everyone appreciates what you're doing. And they're gonna check out the Someone Prays for You website, Taras.
Okay.
Lots of thanks and gratitude from the people here for the work that you and Violetta are doing. It's really,
Thank you, Jen, for organizing everything.
yeah, you stay online, Taras, when we say goodbye to everybody else, and we'll just chat for a second. But I want to thank everyone. Hi, Barbara Launder, my old teacher. I want to thank everyone who came, and thank you for your patience with our technical difficulties early on. Taras, I know we'll be back for more online conversations with Wayne Bearwalt for the show in Calgary in September. And if you want to follow what the Ukrainian Museum of Canada is doing, you can go to our website, umcnational.ca, take out a membership. They're cheap, and you'll get updates into your inbox on a regular basis. Taras's show is up here until September 2nd, and we will always have his works in our permanent collection now. So we also have his father's work here too. So you can come visit his works anytime. And thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Jen. Bye-bye.